Hello, my name is Matthew, and I've had a really good reading weekend, and I'd like to talk about some of the books that I've read. Yesterday, I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, and this was an e-copy that I had. And the reason I came across reading this book was I had read, let me see, I read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This is like maybe a week ago or something, and I really didn't like it. Um, and I don't like making videos talking about books that I don't like. I just found it um, kind of dull. It's about a woman that uh, goes to a particular building and she's frightened by the furniture, and then she leaves, and it didn't really do much for me. But in Northanger Abbey, uh, the character talks so enthusiastically about the mysteries of the Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, and I ordered this. And so this is the mysteries of the Udolpho, and I read about half of the book, and I put it down. The language is beautiful. Just like Northanger Abbey, the beginning was so promising, and then it just felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. But it's October. It's that season of gothic novels, and I wanted something. And I had this on my e-reader. I don't even remember when I downloaded it, but I decided to read this yesterday, and it went from good to really good to great to really great, and then phenomenal. I loved this book by Shirley Jackson, and it's gothic and mysterious and sad, tragic, funny and whimsical and quirky and eccentric, and just so many things that I love in a book. The voice on the page. We have Catherine as our first person narrator, who is little bit touched in the head. It's the idea of a young adult that still has the mind of a child, very eccentric, very imaginative, very emotional and sensitive, very aware of her surroundings and circumstance. And I didn't know the story, and so the mystery that unfolds is so satisfying. There is a murder element, but there's other elements of mystery that make it a really entertaining unfolding narrative, um, because we're seeing the world from Mary Cat's perspective, and so there are those limitations that come from not having like an omniscient narration. And I related to Mary Cat so much. The beginning of the story, the first portion, first chapter, um, we learn a little bit about our environment and the setting that our story is taking place. And we are in a house outside of the village. She lives with her sister Constance and her uncle Julian, and it's a rather fortified property. There's gates, there's security, it's secluded, their household. But they do need to go to the village to get groceries. And Mary Cat goes on her weekly trip to the town to collect uh, their groceries for the week. And it's a harrowing experience. It's very stressful, um, and it seems paranoid. It seems as if um, the whole town is watching her when she comes in, and she has to cross the street if there's passersby, and um, when she walks into the grocer, people will be looking at her or avoiding her. She'll go into a cafe to get a coffee, and if somebody walks, if anyone else comes into the cafe, she will immediately get up and leave. And she's just adverse to any sort of um, interaction. And the first experience that we have with her is one of the many trips that she's had in the past, but this is her first, and she's now in the cafe, and we have these people that come in and kind of harass her and make crude jokes, and they're kind of bullying her and getting her way, and won't let her leave the cafe in a very natural or easy way. But she does leave and get back to the household, and we learn Constance is now her sister is the new matriarch of the family. She's taking care of the family. She takes care of Mary Cat, and she takes care of their uncle Julian, who is senile, suffering from dementia, forgets things, misunderstands things, confuses things, and confuses people for other people. Mary Cat, who is not quite right in the head, and needs guidance and parenting and comforting. Seems to be a very nice young woman, but not altogether there. Imaginative and all the things I said, but this is sort of the the dynamic. And they're sitting down to dinner, and you're thinking, if you're reading the story, the whole town seems to be against this family, and why would they have an issue? And then it comes up. There was a murder in this house, and there was a poisoning. Somebody put arsenic in the sugar, and all the other family members that were in this house had died, except for Mary Cat and Constance and Uncle Julian. And Constance, the matriarch, was the prime criminal. I can't think of the word, but the prime suspect, and went to court and was acquitted and found to be not guilty. But now we learn, well, the whole town thinks that she poisoned the family. And so that there's like this mystery and aura around this household. Amazing. There are kind of revelatory moments in the book, and spoilers, and revelations that really make the story enjoyable. As a forewarning, I'm going to talk about some of them freely. Some aspects of the book I'm not going to spoil because it's just so entertaining. If someone wants to just really know the story, they can find it on Wikipedia or whatever. Um, and they're fairly comfortable. We don't get the situation. We don't get this. We don't get the feeling that they are like fabulously wealthy, but they are well appointed. Uh, they're able to get their food. They have their house. They have their garden. They have their routine. Everything is sort of in order. And there's a knock at the door, which had been something that was recurring when this murder was in the papers and popular, and journalists and inquisitors would come find and harass them. But this knock was different because it was from their relative, their cousin Charles, whose father had recently died, and his father had forbade him from inquiring or checking on this circumstance and this family. But the father had died, and now Charles comes to visit the family. And Charles, there was some inheritance that the one family got, and then Charles's family got. And Charles, after his father died, was left with nothing. Now, this eccentric household with a girl that's not quite there, and an uncle with dementia, and a woman accused of poisoning, seems to be doing fairly well. He shows up, he comes into the household, throws the whole household upside down. Mary Cat is distraught and very upset and going into her imaginative world. And Charles comes in as a figure, at first seemingly to be there to give guidance or to give comfort, but that very quickly changes into an incredibly domineering figure in the household. Constance, who is just the most wonderful, loving figure in the house. She takes care of the uncle. She takes care of her sister. She makes sure the house is taken care of. Anytime somebody says Constance, and she says, yes, how can I help you? We're going to have lunch. We're going to have sandwiches. We're going to have, for breakfast, we're going to have eggs, and we're going to have tea. And it's like she's the leveling voice of reason. And at first, Charles shows up and kind of opens her eyes to how very strange this house is. Uncle Julian should be in a hospital. He's suffering from dementia. He can't remember who people are, and he can't remember if he's eaten. He can't remember why he's put his papers in boxes. Mary Cat, a sprightly, young, imaginative girl, is also doing very strange things. She buries money, and she nails books to trees, and he's showing this to Constance and going, like, look around. This is crazy. And you start wondering, well, who are the crazy people? Who is the crazy person? And it starts unfolding, and we learn more about Charles's true character. He seems to, as a guest, as a visitor, he does seem to now start very much making himself at home. He's now wearing the clothing of the father, one of the victims of the poisoning, and wearing the jewelry, the watch, and the ring, and little trinkets and items. And he's now smoking his pipe in the house, and we're having dishes put out for him to have for his pipe and his ashes, and starts to take over the household. And we're seeing all this, and we're seeing this sort of like tonal change from this voice of reason to, well, now maybe you're the problem. I should point out there is a wonderful cat throughout this whole story. I can't remember the cat's name, but he is delightful and important and one of my favorite characters in the book. So there was a cat. This goes on, and there's a climax building. Finally, Mary Cat, our narrator, goes to him and says, I want you to leave. I don't want you here anymore. And he says to her, well, in a week or a month or whatever it was, maybe you won't be here. And it builds to a climax. And finally, there's a dinner scene. And then they smell smoke. And we have to remember that the town hates them because this is a murder house. There was a poisoning in this house. And the true murderer was never either found or sent to prison. And the smoke means fire. And on the second floor, there was a fire. And it started from Charles's pipe. He's the cause of the fire. And I love how infuriated he is because his family squandered all their money. And we imagine these kind of like right-minded, sane people that just weren't very good with money. And now we have this like eccentric household that has a safe full of money, a crazy young girl that's burying money around the house, and yet they still have money. And he is materialistic and basically wants to capitalize on the money in this household. And now the house is on fire. And he shows his true colors. He kind of bursts out of the door, runs to the village, and is able to get their version of the fire department to come and start putting out the fire. And more villagers show up to see this kind of exploit. And something so tragic and manic and insane happens. They put the fire out. Uncle Julian gets out of the house. The cat gets out of the house. Mary Cat and Constance are out of the house. These are all very sensitive individuals, emotional and reclusive. Essentially, the whole village is now surrounding their house, watching it on fire, and the firefighters show up and do their diligence to put the fire out. But they hate them irrationally, emotionally. They just have that gossipy idea that these are horrible people. The fire goes out and a rock is thrown. They're all outside of the house. It breaks the glass. And this lunacy, this mob mentality escalates, and more rocks are thrown. And now the village is just terrorizing the house. They go in, they're breaking chairs, they're breaking tables, they're breaking um, plates and cups, and they are just trashing this house out of insane, manic mob behavior. Finally, someone of authority, I can't quite remember, shows up and says, "What's going on here?" And then there is a moment of seriousness. Uncle is dead. The village disperses. Constance and Mary Cat, they go back in the house, lock the doors. The next few days, they are trying to evaluate. The house is half burned down. What are they going to do? And we get this um, counterbalance of the remorse of the village realizing, kind of collectively as a whole, what they've done to these suffering people. And it's amazing. The conclusion of the story is so sad and sweet and tragic. Some of the revelations, which I've tried to withhold, some of the fun parts, the care that Constance has for her family, it's incredible. It's a short novel, very well paced, very well characterized. Um, the atmosphere is just pitch perfect, and the punchiness, um, the moments that have the spoilers that come in, and little fun bits are really great, and such a welcome reading experience after Northanger Abbey and the Mysteries of Dolfo. I'd like to finish this at some point, but I just had to put it down. It was not doing it for me. Um, so there's my e-reader. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. If you've read it, please let me know. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you would like. And thank you, and take care.